Oh boy, 100 years ago. Our founder was Quincy Hale, who started practicing law here in La Crosse in January of 1919. Quincy Hale was really a giant in the area in so many ways, not only in the practice of law, but in the community.
I remember in December of 1977, I interviewed with Ernie Hansen, and it was the era where indoor smoking was still very much in vogue, and the cigar smoke was quite heavy in Ernie's office.
Well, my dad, Thomas Skemp, he started practicing law here in La Crosse in 1928. Mr. Hale always said that Dad practiced law like he coached football, very aggressively.
My original plan was to be here for a year and see how it was going to go, and I wasn't really familiar with La Crosse at the time, and here I am 30 years later.
It was easy to see that this was a firm that I wanted to be part of because the reputation, first of all, was that this was the #1 firm in La Crosse in terms of working hard and getting good results.
The traditions that were started with Hale and Skemp, I think, are very obviously continued. Being the dynamos that they were, we had a good reputation. And a reputation not only as good lawyers, but honest lawyers and integrity. And that was so important to both of those men.
Even in 1971, when Mr. Hale must have been 80 years old, 78, something like that, I don't remember exactly, but I used to come in every Saturday morning. I have 3 daughters, and I would take them along, and we'd go to breakfast somewhere, and then we'd come down to the office, and I'd work for a couple hours. And often Mr. Hale would come in on Saturday morning.
We do have a legacy of Packer, Bear, and Viking fans in this firm, and we've had a lot of fun with that over the years. I recall one of our name partners, Mr. Slake, wearing Helga braids to a lunch at Schmitty's one time due to his ill-gotten or ill-advised bet on a Viking-Packer game.
They wanted to start the professional football team, the old-style Loggers, and they asked Dad to coach them, which he did. And again, very successful coaching career there. They were La Crosse Loggers, which was a pretty small town and minor leagues in those years, but they played the Bears, they played the Packers, they played the Chicago Cardinals, and respectively too.
Well, there are many memories that I have of going to trial as a young lawyer with some of the senior members of the firm. It was an incredible learning experience, and there's no way to learn how to become a trial lawyer better than being in the courtroom. And if there's one thing about Hale Skemp that I think distinguishes us is we have a legacy of being very good trial lawyers.
I remember some very funny things with Tom Skemp because Tom Skemp was a very hard-driving, serious man and a great trial lawyer. And I often got to come in at the beginning and sit in the second chair, not for him, but for the other lawyers who would consult with Mr. Hale and Mr. Skemp. There's always been a lot of collegiality in this firm, and it was great to be exposed to that.
At Hale Skemp in 1989, I interviewed on campus with Jim Curtis, and I remember him calling and making me an offer, and it was for $23,000 a year, and my response was, for a whole year? I became the first female partner at Hale Skemp in 1995. I remember getting a letter from Quincy Hale's grandson, and it was congratulating me on being the first female partner and letting me know that Quincy Hale was very forward-thinking and would have been really thrilled to have known that there was a female partner in his law firm. So that was really special to receive that.
Oh boy, how many lawyers were in the firm? Well, it was Hale, Skemp, Nietzsche, Hansen, Schnur, and Bud Sheehan. So I was the 7th one then. Well, I think the most significant case that was produced in the law firm came in 1947 when We represented the La Crosse Telephone Company. So the telephone company, when Dad representing them, took it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court and won.
Hale Skemp has really felt that it's important to keep up with modern technology in order to meet the needs of our clients. I remember when email was first introduced, probably in the early 90s, and at that time, at least that day, the wheels of justice came to a screeching halt in the office because it was so novel. But now, we walk around with our office in our hand.
You can go on the internet and got all these books in this library, and in the old days, you spent a lot of time here in the library researching and so forth. Now, I guess they go boom, boom, boom on the internet and bring up all the cases they need.
But the commitment to this library of over 1,500 square feet gives you some idea that through the years, having thorough and complete resources available for research for legal questions has always been really important to this firm.
I joined the firm in 1952.
This is your 65th year.
Yeah, 65 years. Well, I'm very optimistic. I mean, I look around and look at all you young guys, and I'm calling you young, Mike, although you're getting a little up there.
The law is always evolving. The law is always changing. And so if you're dedicated and if you believe that your objective is to get it right and to do it right for the client, you're going to succeed. And those are the people that we have and that we want to have in the future.
Oh yeah, I think all of the lawyers in the firm have been active not only in the profession but in the community.
I was blown away by how many different boards our partners have served on, from the Boys and Girls Club to church boards to food pantries. All across the community we've been involved.
Oh, my birthday? I'm hitting 90 in a couple weeks.
I would say that my wife and I have thanked God so many times. It's just unbelievable how important it was for us to come home. The people we have met, the people we have had the opportunity to serve, the activities we've had the chance to get involved in, it's just all been so unbelievably rewarding. My dad told me long ago, he said, whatever you do in civic involvement, it pays back 10 times whatever you can put into it.
I think the important thing for a young lawyer to learn and to appreciate is that there are no shortcuts in the practice of law. It always is a realization that sinks in after a few years. But if you want to be good and if you want to be in demand, that means that you have to be prepared. It means that you have to be prepared to put in the extra effort. And it means that you have to really believe in lifelong learning.
Been a great life, great life. Thank God for everything. That's all I can say.
But it's always been true that we have leaders in the bar and leaders in the areas of practice in which we perform legal work. And that's true today, and I think it'll be true 20 years from now, maybe 100.